Hello, good night, family. Reminding the teachings of our elders from our human species. We have to ask for permission every time that we are open a sacred space and a sacred conversation. So asking for the permission of the 7 directions, asking for the permission of Pachamama and Pachacama to open this sacred space. We have the honor to have the Queen Diambi Kabatusuila of the Democratic Republic of Congo joining us in a prayer and conversation tonight. We are Tribute Earth. We are a 501c3 non-profit organization. Our mission is to inspire humanity to reconnect to the deeper essence and the Mother Earth. We had the pleasure and synchronistically to meeting the Queen Diambi last January at the Zurich airport, and when we just landed and we arrived to the airport and we started a very beautiful conversation with her. Even we didn't know even who she was, and from that moment we became friends. That is the most important thing, and we were joining her work and all the beautiful activations that she has been doing during the World Economic Forum. So thank you very much to be with us tonight, family.
Thank you, Javi, and thank you, Queen Diambi. I will share with you all a little bit more about the Queen. Diambi Kabatusuila is the traditional ruler of the Bena, Tshiyamba people of the Bakwa Indu of the central Kasaï region, part of the ancient Luba Empire, and Queen of the Order of the Leopard of the Bakwa Luntu people in the Democratic Republic of Congo. She holds a Doctorate of Public Administration, a Doctorate of Philosophy and Humanities, a Professorship in International Law and Order, a Master of Science in Applied Psychology, a Master of Science in Mental Health Counseling, and also holds a Bachelor of Science in Business Finance and Economics. Queen Diambi is a founder and executive director of the Elikia Hope Foundation in New York City, Vice President of the FONKABE nonprofit in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Minister of Health of the 6th region of the African-Diaspora, recognized by the African Union. Queen Diambi's lifelong interest in the restoration of the African identity has led her to inspiring others to learn about their true history and promoting the appreciation and education of African ancestral heritage and cultures. All of which place a greatest value on compassion, respect, solidarity, and the primordial role of the Creator in all aspects of existence. Her strong desire to promote a culture of peace in the world drove her to travel across the globe seeking friendship and alliances between diverse communities. Queen Diambi believes in will and decision to connect to others with an open heart, and in doing that, highlighting similarities in the fundamental needs, concerns, values, and aspirations is the premise of connection that paves the way for peace for all. Thank you so much, Queen Diambi, for being here with us. It's such an honor and a pleasure to connect in this way and to bring your wisdom to the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for this introduction, and to which I would like to also add that I am also a practitioner of alternative and complementary medicine, because it's really important that I put that, because this is one of the reasons why I'm here. And it's also important to know that we have to be well-rounded, and it's important that we touch on different aspects of our existence so we can be better servant. So thank you so much for this very nice introduction. In my tradition, so I'm Queen Diambi Kabatusuila Chiyomwata, Mukalenga Mukaji Wankashama of the Bakwa Luntu people of Dimbelenge of Kasaï. which is in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Luntu people belong to the once called the Luba Empire, and we are one of the biggest tribes in Africa, the Luba people. And we extend in different countries, in Angola, in Zambia, Tanzania, even all the way to South Africa. The Zulu people also from the Luba family. And furthermore, I want to really give some precision about tribes. A tribe, sorry, a tribe is nothing but a family. So these words really didn't pertain to our own languages. You know, so when we say Bena Tshiyamba, we means the ones who belong to Tshiyamba. When we say, you know, Bakwa Luntu, we means the ones who are from the Luntu people, the Luntu family. So we don't have words for tribes in Africa. It's just that we are called by the name of our family and of one of the great elders who was, you know, the one who started, you know, that particular group. And we understand that we are all connected throughout the continent and furthermore to the world, because we all started from one family, one human family in Africa, and then we spread in the world. So those divisions are really superficial. And when we just trace back even our languages, we see that our languages are so connected to each other, and in even our belief systems and the way we give reverence to the earth. I'm going to start with a particular ritual that we do in Africa in our tradition when we want to start a public you know, conversation like the one we're going to start now. And it can even be just one person, having a conversation with the divine principle, with God. It's a tradition we call libation. We pour water into the ground usually to symbolize certain things. So I will explain as I go. So I hope that everybody can tune in, because it's a way to align our energy, to align our consciousness, to not only receive what we will be talking about, but also to input, in the sense that with your energy, with your consciousness, you can definitely influence the way this conversation is going, so that all that is important, all that is true, all that is from the heart, from kindness, from compassion, can see the day and can come to the surface. So that's why we pour libation, and also we pour libation to the ground to remind ourselves that we come from ancestors. No one is a man standing by himself or herself. Everyone comes from thousands and thousands of other life experience before us. And of course, those are our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, and so forth, all the way to the first speck of life. And so our primordial ancestor is really the divine source that gave birth to everything that exists. So when we pour libation to ancestors, it's not to say that we think that we pouring libation to spirits or to, you know, phantoms that are in the room, because a lot of misunderstanding sometimes they have labeled African practices for some reason that we know, but it's really a reverence and a respect that we give to understanding that we are only what we are because of everything that has come before us, including nature herself, including the trees, including, you know, any insect, the animals, including the minerals, everything that is out there contributed to making us who we are. So pouring libation is a sign of reverence and respect and love. Mm-hmm. So for libation, since I'm not outside, you take some water, just, you know, plain water. And I have a little jar that is made out of clay. Okay, so you can have it, you know, it doesn't have to be that, but in this case, it symbolizes the earth. So I'm gonna pour the libation. And as I pour, why water? Water has many symbolism in all our cultures. But let me just summarize to 4 main characteristics of water that why we use water as a representative to do this ritual. Water is definitely life. It's the source of life itself. Without water, no one is here. Our planet is nothing but a drop of water flying across the universe. When you look at our planet, most of it is water. We are made of water. Most of us is made of water. We speak, our words are imbued with water. This big thing about the coronavirus now and the famous droplets. So none of our words is dry. All our words are carried by water as well. So this is one of the symbolism. It represents water, the source of life. The second symbol is that water cleans and purifies. So when something is being dirtied or something needs to be purified, we use water. So water has a restorative properties to bring back something to cleanness, to bring back something to purity. So water can take on the things that we can no longer handle. So we can leave it to water. We can use water as a purification. And a lot of many religions, they use water to purify. They do baptism to show rebirth. They use water to purify before prayer. So that's the symbol of water. Water can cleanse. Water can help us, restore balance. The third symbolism of water is that water is very, very strong. So very little can resist to the strength of water. So although it seems malleable and it doesn't seem like a quite, robust element, is the most robust element use water to kind of inspire ourselves, to say, we may look weak or we may feel like, we're not strong enough, but if we are made of water, the same water, then we have the strength to overcome so many challenges in front of us. And the last symbol, but not the last one, but the last one I'm going to refer to today is water's flexibility and malleability. Water is flexible. Water can go through different obstacles to find its way. Water always finds its way. Water never gets lost. So when we feel like we are stuck in some difficulties, water can also inspire us to do rituals with water, to give reverence and prayers using water can also help us, gain more perspective over things and be flexible in the way we see things, and we to make judgment of how situation look like. So with flexibility, we can always get to where we need to be. So this is why water is such a big symbol. So I'm going to pour water now for libation for the ancestors. So the primordial, I pour libation for the primordial ancestor, which is the source of life. I pour libation for all the ancestors, all the human beings, and all life that came before us, so that we can be manifested today. I pour libation for all the people who have inspired us in our life to be who we are, who have taught us something, the teachers, the masters, the elders. I pour libation for all the ones who have fought for freedom and for justice and liberty for all. I pour libation for all the ancestors of all the people present here. I pour libation so that we can have unity, we can have purity, and we can have justice in the way we speak today. I pour libation so that we can harmonize in the energy of pure love and compassion today. I pour libation so to ask for blessings from the Almighty God, or the source of all things. And I pour libation for everyone here to be open to receive, and also to be generous to give. What is it that they have to give, so that this meeting can be a success and a blessing for all. This is why for libation. So with this ritual, this conversation, I just want to show you also what I have around me, so that you can understand that we have to do some work to make sure that the environment in which we are is a clean environment. So that's why I also have a light, because light also symbolizes simply light. Open our eyes, open our heart. Sometimes we are in darkness. Sometimes our own thoughts, lead us to darkness and lead us to confusion. So the light simply symbolizes, bring light into what is dark. So make us aware of things that we might not be, or we might not be open to look at, because everything that we're going to talk about is not going to be easy and fun and feel good. There's stuff that are difficult that we have to talk about. There's stuff that we have to make introspection and see in what way we are contributing to the darkness, and if we are willing to bring light into our own darkness sometimes. So that's why it's important to have some light. I have some sage. This is also, every culture, we use some sage or some kind of, we fumigate with incense. So this is just as a symbol that I'm bringing this. I'm making sure that this space is a sacred space. This space is a holy space where we come as one family, that all of us come with the intention of beautifying life for all of us, on bringing balance. So this is why I bring this sage, so I can show that, you know, my intention are pure, my intention are clean. And if for any reason there is something that is not okay with me, or not in balance with me and with us together, then let it be, you know, cleanse also, so that we can all, you know, be in peace with each other. And here I have some fruits, just simply fruits. That's to thank Mother Nature, because she sustained us. So we are always sustained because she gives us so much. So it's just to show that she's here with us. We are here respecting Mother Nature, and we are grateful for everything, all the abundant things that she's giving us, so that we can sustain our life. And a lot of these fruits, normally they come by itself in the nature. We don't have to normally cultivate them. Nature gives us abundantly, but yet again, we had to, you know, make some arrangement with nature so we can now cultivate, but she gives abundantly. So this is a symbolism of nature giving. And then the last thing, one of the last thing, is just having a mineral. So this is a shungite stone. Mineral have vibration. So surround yourself when you're going to do a moment that is important, or prayer. Surround yourself with things that have a meaning to you, and also that shows that we're not more important than any of these things. We are just part of a system. And then mineral, it can be any stone, it can be any crystal. This is shungite, but it's important to give reverence, because these minerals come into our life, makes us who we are as well. And then we use them in so many different ways, sometimes without realizing that we have to also give respect and reverence to all these things. So this is basically the kind of things that you can see that I surround myself when I'm going to do something of importance. And this is usually, you will find in all the world community who are really connected with the earth and nature, that those are just elements that are so common everywhere in the world, that we bring so that we can align the energy of the community, so that we can do this work, because it's what we're going to do, it's work. It's not just for fun or entertainment. It's really to place our intention, to bring something forward that needs to be brought forward, so we can continue to grow together, and we can give a chance to life on this planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for your words, Diambi. I have a question for you. You know, during these times, we have been hearing a lot about Europe, United States, China, during these times, right? However, we haven't heard much about Africa. So how are the peoples of Africa experiencing this pandemic, global pandemic right now?
Well, so far, the numbers that we have coming from Africa are looking really not so dramatic, meaning that there is so many cases that are, you know, identified. But that doesn't mean that, you know, people are not, you know, having it more, because maybe the testing capacities are not as much as everywhere else. However, Africa has gotten into the panic mode as well, because, you know, the media has put a lot of information out there about the COVID. They see the behavior of the Western world and China, you know, shutting down everything, isolation, confinement, something that is never been seen before. So of course, in Africa, we have also this kind of, you know, we are embedded into this reality where, yes, of course, it's something dramatic. People are very scared that they might, you know, have this disease. And then, you know, we don't have the capacity, medical capacity to, you know, overcome if we were faced with the same situation as, you know, either China or Asia and Europe or America. However, I have an orphanage in Congo. I work in collaboration with an organization called Oser Père in Congo, and they work with street children, meaning homeless children. And I was concerned about them, and I called and the monitor people, the educators, and I said, oh my God, you know, there is Corona, how are you guys preparing, and so forth. And basically he said to me, listen, we're going to die of hunger before we die of Corona. because this panic now has just fueled a lot of concern, because now how do you do confinement in a society where people live day by day? How do you shut down the marketplace when the women selling the food need that money they're going to make that day in order to feed their family? How are you going to shut down marketplaces where people, that's the only way they can live? They buy their food day by day because they don't have electricity to have a fridge home to store food and stuff. They don't have the bank account where they have so much money they can make provisions for a month to stay indoors. So they have to work. They have no other alternatives. And a lot of the work are, what we consider small jobs, like driving a motorcycle for, transportation, or, selling tomatoes in the marketplace, or selling, cookies or chewing gum or water, or, and that day, the business of that day is the business that feeds you that day. So the reality is that many people are saying it's not feasible in Africa. But my question is, why would Africa be so concerned about COVID more than anything else, when today more than 2,000 children have died of malaria in Africa today? And every single day, I'm just talking about children under 5. I'm not including all the children, and I'm not including adults. So every day, for something like malaria, and they took a lot of talk about malaria nowadays because of the hydroxychloroquine, but Africa has COVID every day. Africa is in a COVID crisis every day. Africa is in a pandemic every day. And you don't hear any shutdown. You don't hear alarms. You don't hear people, saying, oh, let's shut everything down. So in one way, yes, it's a problem. We have to address it. But we also have so many other problems that never been addressed when it comes to Africa. And why would today be any different? And today I share with you the news that there is a Congolese doctor who identified a protocol for healing COVID-19 in Madagascar. So he worked with the government of Madagascar. And everybody's talking about we lack of testing, but here we are, Senegal has developed a test that's only $1 for the COVID-19, but those are news that you will not hear. So Africa is used to being the parent that is left behind for so many reasons, but that doesn't mean that Africa is behind. Africa is forward in so many different ways that the world, I believe, should get interested in Africa, not only as a place to profit from resources and from exploitation, but also from the teaching and the wisdom Africa can bring to the table. And this is really one of the major things that I do. I really try to engage everyone, to ask them to take another look at Africa and to give themselves a chance to get the information required so they can change the narrative about what they think of Africa. Because not only Africa is the mother, she's the source of our life, but she's also an abundance of life experience, because let's not forget that we are about 200,000 years, give or take, of Homo sapiens sapien as we know ourselves. But 130,000 years of it was only in Africa. So when we left Africa, when our forefathers started leaving Africa, we were not human children. We were already in our third age, meaning only 70,000 years ago we left home. So most of the human experience has happened in Africa. What does that body of information contain? And for too long, it's been completely disregarded. There was a need for propaganda, because of it, the need to exploit Africa, its people, and its resources. But today, I think it's really the day where we can make a difference, and we can start saying, wait a minute, let's open our eyes, let's open our heart, let's see what Africa, our great mother, has to teach us, because we are from there, all of us, and we need to open ourselves to understanding. There's many ways to look at a problem, and we can talk about it. We have generated so many problems with the choices that we have made over the past, I would say, 200 to 300 years, especially the last 100 years. We have made some very drastic choices, and that are putting us in front of serious problems. And solving these problems, we need everybody on board. We need all hands on deck.
Thank you so much, Diambi, and thank you so much for your prayer.
You're welcome.
So I want to ask you, so since you were speaking about especially the changing of the narrative, looking to the East, looking back at Mother Africa for the wisdom, for the fundamental knowledge as to how we live our day-to-day life. We are curious to know if your community has any kind of protocol towards resolving conflict.
Yes, absolutely. When you look at the African history, and you look at most of the information we gather from Africa, you can see that indeed there were conflicts, of course, like everywhere else. But you also understand they were never, the culture of war and to be belligerent was never the go-to. Meaning we privilege dialogue, and also the type of power was really a power of conciliation. It's very egalitarian, and the work of talking to each other and finding common ground and conciliation, and also, of course, through marriage and the mixing of the people. Why I say we didn't have war as one of the go-to solution to our problem, and how can I say that? Because people say, no, how can you not know that you guys also did wars? We did some, but look at just the history of our weaponry. When you go to Africa and you dig out every information that you can dig out, you look at the weaponry, and the weaponry is really not developed at all. So if you take 15th century Europe or 16th century Europe and 16th century Africa, and you compare the type of weapons, you can see that those were not culture, really focusing on warring, especially warring to kill each other. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I think that one of the importance is really the Ubuntu principle. That's is the foundation of how we interact with each other, because of the type of community living we have developed, and the fact that we have to rely on each other to build a community and to make a community work, because every single individual has a role to play in the community, and every role is as valuable as another one. So it's not because you are the king that your role is more valuable than the one who go fetch water, because without the one who go fetch water, the king will die of thirst. So to understand the interconnectedness and the interdependency that we have, and to assume that with your conscience that I am very important to my community, regardless of what it is that you do, even if it's just chasing flies, but your place is great and you are of great importance, because once you come to this world, it means that your role has been designed by the source itself, the same source that designed everything, every galaxy, every planet, every living organism has planned for your existence. So once you already understand that, so regardless of what is it that you do, the fact that you are is what permeates on anything else. And the role will show up for you eventually in the community. So conflict is usually when we bring people together, when we mediate, when we going to talk. And also we have different practices. For instance, I give you an example. So when this community has a conflict with this community, the elders of both community will set a time to meet. But when they will meet, they will not first talk about the problem. They will first eat, dance, drink together. They will laugh, that's how we're going to set up the meeting. We will start first by activities that can create bonding with each other. Maybe that night some people will fall in love from different communities, who knows? So many things will be put in place in order to create a sentiment of belonging to each other, of bonding, and highlighting what's common to each other first before we're looking at our differences. And then when this is done, then the next day or the day after, or depending, it could be one day, 1 week or so, then we will sit down and we say, okay, we came here together because we had such a conflict. And of course, all these rituals will be done to also mend the communities together. So from two communities, before we talk about the conflict, we're going to mend the communities first. And once we do, then we sit together and then we see what is the problem. I assure you that the way we're going to deal with each other after we've laughed and danced and hugged and maybe have plans to marry our children together, it will no longer be the same. So it's a process to not take away the conflict or just make the conflict disappear, but de-escalate the emotional attachment to the particular conflict. So that when you talk now, you talk from a place of calmness, from a place of love and compassion with an open heart. And then you can find solution, and then you have more ability to find solution. Also, we have a system that is, when we talk about different solutions, we have different sides of, we come and talk about the solution that they see. We have the elders, we have the notable, we have the Council of Women, and we will make we will say, okay, this is what we think we should do. But we may have 1 or 2 or 3 different options. So here, we antagonize people. I'm a Democrat and I'm a Republican. A Republican will do it this way, a Democrat will do it this way. Okay, we can't get along? Okay, you are the Republican, you won, go ahead and do your way, and we'll sit there and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, haha, we're gonna do our way. No, see, we don't do that. We say, okay, there's 2 ways to do things. Okay, see, we cannot reach an agreement. Maybe we'll just start with this way. So if I do it this way, I will join in to ensure that this way works, even if it's not my way. But I will put my support to make it, to push it so that we can resolve the issue. And if it doesn't work, then we go this way, but you also will put your weight there. So it's not to always antagonize, to always have like a winner. There is never a winner when somebody loses in the community. A winner is the community. It's not one clan or one people and so forth. So we have a way to try to understand that we are a system. Same with the community, same with the planet, same with the resources we have. We are a system. We are not separate from a system. And God is not a separate entity outside there that will judge us at the end. God is integrated into everything we do, every word we say, every thought we have, every action we do, and everything around us. So we have to treat everything as sacred. So even a conflict is never something to look down upon. A conflict may be a symptom of to reveal a malady in the community. So situation too are imbued with the divine. So even situations that seem to be very ugly and scary, like what's going on now with the COVID-19, it also brings with it its own teaching for humanity, its own lessons to be learned, so that tomorrow we can overcome and we can be better. So this is a way that, it's a lot about, conciliation.
Thank you very much. So if I understood well, the concept of Ubuntu could help Western societies to go away from the illusion of separation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Ubuntu, if I have to shorten it to explain what it means, any of you were not there, but not just any of you, any of the people who made this technology, any of the people who made created this space in which we are. Any of the people who were there to cultivate the food we ate so we can be healthy today and be able to express ourselves. With any of the people who wrote all these books that we read and that made our mind, you know, enlighten and want to know more or say more or act more. So Ubuntu is not just something about me and another human, but it's me and the entire existence. Is the oneness, you know, the understanding of that oneness. And the Western world, unfortunately, has promoted division and individualism and competition, and more is best, and whoever has more is better than whoever doesn't have as much. And, you know, the goal in life, or the dream, is to have as much stuff as possible, and never thinking, but the more I have, it means that somebody has less. We are on a planet that is finite. We don't have, it's a finite planet. So if I have more, that means somebody somewhere has less. So we never connect these dots. We're thinking that, oh, I can have more and more and more, and it's okay. It's just to show that how great I am. Well, nobody is great by himself or herself. You are only great because everybody else around you and is doing what they're doing. You know, you cannot even go from point A to point B if you don't have all these workers who work to make your car, or all the ones who laid the roads so you can drive on. So nobody is a self-made, and it's only me and my intelligence and my wit and my work. And no. You are always dependent on everybody else. And we are depending on the earth. We are depending on her generosity, her abundance. But it's a finite planet. It's not something that will just grow exponentially. We will not have more gold on this planet than there is gold. We will not have more oil on this planet than there is oil. We will not have more, you know, more of anything. Everything is in a finite quantity. So this, for me, the Ubuntu, if we understand the principle of being interconnected on an intellectual base, it's fine. It's good. It would be good already, but it's deeper than on this level. Because we are mobile and we move around, we don't look at ourselves as a tree that is set on the ground and we say, okay, this is the tree, it sets here. We are made of this earth too. We are a product of this earth. We are made of this earth. So we're thinking, because we don't see the connection between us, or between us and the earth, that there is none. It's not because we are mobile. We are deeply connected on an energy level. We have the a magnetic field, a whole system, electric system that governs our being, that is attached to the earth and the entire cosmos. So to not understand this, it's really to let go of the opportunity to reground ourselves, because we came out of the ground. So to reground ourselves, because without being grounded, we make choices that leads to aberration. And the lack of understanding of Ubuntu is what has been driving, the quest for always more, the quest for unlimited potential to subjugate nature and other humans, the quest for like an insane, almost I would say an insane and decent will or desire to only enjoy things to an extreme. Like there's no such thing as having everything and always be in a place where you only enjoy, you only have more stuff to make you happier and happier and happier. This is an illusion. So Ubuntu is really that is the core principle, fundamental principle of a lot of our communities in the world. I'm not just even thinking about Africa. when I said before, when we left Africa 70,000 years ago, we already left with the Ubuntu principle, and we went all over the world with it. We went in South America, in Central America, in Asia, in Europe. We went to, you know, the Oceania, in Australia. We all went with these principles because if you look at the original society and the indigenous society, Ubuntu is the primal, you know, foundation for the community to work well. And it's not because we are now 7 billion and we are now living in cities that we can get away without Ubuntu. Because if we think we do, it catches up to us. Like what's going on now with, you know, the pollution, what's going on now with the complete dichotomy of, you know, of how we look at the world, that separation with self and others. And when we do a diagnosis of the so-called developed communities or developed world, well, there is a flip side to it that is very, very disturbing. There's a flip side to a lot of all the things that that we have, or all the acquisition that we think we have made in terms of science, in terms of technology, in terms of human development. There's a big side that we don't always show. I believe I shared with you, Caroline, a documentary that was quite disturbing. And if you can, maybe in your website, you can always put a link. The documentary is in French. It's a little 5-6 minutes, but you have subtitles and you can pretty much understand what's going on. Yes, we have this technology, and I'm thankful because thanks to that, we can see each other, we can talk, we can bring people all over the world. And this is serving the human community. But at the same time, we have places that are dumpsters where we're destroying the nature with the same technology. This phone that's made to last only 3 years, because I just had a problem with my previous phone. 3 years, it was working just fine. And just one day, died. So now what? Garbage. And then it goes and pile and pile and pile and pollute the planet. There is dumpsters that are amazing. People don't have an idea of all the crap that we use and we throw after 2 or 3 years. And where do they end? It's like we acting like we're children in a show. And once the curtain falls, we don't know what's behind. We're acting so immaturely, thinking we can just use stuff. And when we don't need it, so long as I don't see it, peekaboo, I don't see it, it means it doesn't exist anymore. Like, you know, very childish, you know, that there's a stage of development of babies is when I don't see it, that means it doesn't exist. We cannot afford to be like this. We have to know that everything we do has an impact. We have to be aware of what is it, the impact of what we do, so that we can make sensible choices. Because if we don't have the information, we cannot also blame people for making stupid choices. You know, how can we blame children for wanting the new phone on Christmas when all we see on TV is, oh, you know, get the new phone, get the new phone, get the new phone. Nobody tells us, oh, by the way, by you getting a new phone, there's gonna be about 60 tons of plastic crap that will be dumped in a village somewhere in Africa, where people are going to die of cancer and lead poisoning and heavy metal poisoning because you couldn't hold yourself and you had to get this new phone. So something is fundamentally flawed in the whole system. And although we say now we are global, we are connected, but yet we are not connected enough to understand that if we make people suffer in Africa, or in South America, or in Europe somewhere, the suffering comes back to us. We end up being the receivers of this suffering anyway, because we are not separated. So this is one of the things I'm trying to say, is that we have to be able to ask the questions and not be afraid of looking into our way of life and asking the right question. What are we able to sacrifice in order for us to promote life on this planet, to continue to sustain life on this planet? You know, you hear it's a very fashionable statements now. It's called Sustainable Development Goals. very fashionable. Everybody's talking about it. They wrote papers and papers. There's conferences about it. I was in Davos, we were talking about that. But yet again, I ask, is development and sustainable even compatible? In what way? Certain things, of course, I understand those goals, freedom from violence, health, to be healthy, to have food. When you talk about development itself, the concept itself seems endless. When is development enough? Where are we going? What are we trying to achieve that we have not yet achieved? Where are we going? How much faster can our phone work? How much further from our planet can we go? How much more stuff can we have, more gadget that makes our life easier, so that we don't even have to leave our chair to get things done, because we're going to have a robot with an intelligence? How further, when does that end? When do we have a cap on that? When do we have a wisdom to help cap it? Because for me, it sounds like it's a never-ending process. And that doesn't make any sense. There is nothing on this planet that has a never-endless process of growth and development. Wisdom. So they talk about development, and then they look at my people and they look at us and they say, oh, you guys, development. But never we looking at ourselves and say, what about us? What about our cities? What about our way of lives? What about our transportation? What about all of that? What about overdevelopment? We always talk about underdevelopment. What about overdevelopment? Why are those questions never asked? It's almost like it's indecent. Like, you don't want to go to the Star Trek era when we're gonna fly around in space. It's like, don't you see there's so much more potential to develop? But yet, all that's only material stuff. But the development of our being, it's completely disregarded. If we get education, college, and so we can make machines and make more complex stuff, and we can keep on that route. But we never talk about human development as beings and the technology we have. In Davos, I asked the question, I say, how come we are now in a time when we're going to talk about artificial intelligence? And I said, what about natural intelligence? What happened to it? So that we now have to say artificial intelligence will save the world. What happened to natural intelligence? It's there, but it's there places where we don't want to look. We don't want to look in the forest of Central America. We don't want to look in the Amazons. We don't want to look in Africa in those villages for wisdom and knowledge. We want to look into space, but we don't want to look where we need to look, when we need to show some reverence and open-heartedness to understand that there is human technology that is beyond any capacity of any technology that is made by human, that we never explore, that there is an inner frontier that we have never even crossed over, except for certain groups of people or certain people that are exploring these avenues. So Ubuntu is about that. Ubuntu is to say we are connected to each other as people, but we are connected to so much more. And it's time that we realize that, so that we can explore, what are the possibilities of bringing happiness and peace in the world without necessarily having to subjugate nature.
Thank you so much. We hear you completely, and just want to add, we feel that even this global pandemic has brought us such a big opportunity for us to reflect on what's really important for us right now. And I know you touched up a little bit upon this, and understanding also the concept of Ubuntu and how that's pretty much the underlying energy that is there to technology, the ancient technology that is there to save us, in a sense, for us to remember come back into the heart, and then also come back into that ancient memory, connecting to the interconnectedness, the interdependency, creating a system that is based on the ancient system, based on the circle. Mm-hmm. So how do you see us moving forward in a harmonious way?
I think that all of us are, the voice of wisdom in one way or another. we may know it or we may not know it. There's no one who has the hegemony over wisdom. But I really think that we have to start integrating the fact that intelligence is one thing, the ability to invent and to do all kinds of things is amazing. Of course, that's one of our gifts. But without wisdom, we create aberration. And we have to really bring wisdom back into the center of everything we do. Everything we do should pass the test of wisdom. Yes, I can invent something that can create energy that will give free energy to the world, but we can also use it to blow up the world. Is it smart? Yeah, it's super smart. Is it wise? No. So then what's next? How else can we do? And to engage people, to engage children, to engage our elders, to sit with us just for ideas, because everything that manifests is first an idea. To be able to be open to ideas that are so foreign to the Western standards, because the Western world has shown its limits to provide that so-called happiness and prosperity and peace. It didn't work. That model did not work. Even the richest countries in the world, if you take France and the United States, how come everybody's not wealthy? How come everybody's not okay? With all the money that has been infused into those economies for hundreds of years, with free labor of the enslaved people, with colonization where they just could function, the wealth of different lands in the world, all these billions and billions and billions of money still has not made it possible to bring happiness to everyone in these places in the world. How come? How come? What are we missing? Why is it today, after you have explored the world and exploited everything, all the resources for so long, that you still don't have enough money in your coffers to guarantee peace, prosperity, and happiness to everyone? It just tells you that it doesn't work. So if it didn't work then and it's not working now, what gives you the guarantee that if we do the same thing, it's going to work tomorrow? So a shift has to happen. And the reason why I'm telling you, I have friends everywhere. I have friends in Europe, I have friends in South America, in Asia, everywhere. And there is that sense that there is another path. We may not have the answers today, but we have to ask ourselves the questions. We have to, and we have to invite children also to ask the question, and we have to engage elders and ask them the questions and say, let's see what else we can do. There are different economic models. And economic models don't have to be imbued with ideology. Oh, we have this ideology. No, we have to think about what works for us all as a community, not whose ideology it is. We have to ask those researchers in economics and say, okay, this is what we have. Those are the information we have now. Knowing what we know now, how would we create a model that's sustainable and that create prosperity and peace for the greater majority of the people on this planet? How do we do that? Or are we doomed to always live with so little people that have everything and the majority of everybody that has nothing? And even if it's so, these small group of people who have everything, how pleasurable is that to live in a world where you see everybody around you in misery? How pleasurable is that? What does that say about you? What does that say about when you can live in this world, when you look around and every single day, 2,000 children are dying of malaria, minimum. And it's so easy to resolve. How can you live in a world like that and then pretend to have your piece of happiness. So that's really my take on that. My take is that we have to bring people on board like you know, who are elders or youngsters who are willing to look at the problem differently and who are willing to open also different perspective, because we can no longer go on the predicate that the Western paradigm is the one that has the solution. It is one that has created immense problems, so that it needs to open up, and we need to widen up to include different perspectives so that we can find very interesting and original solutions to problems that were created by one specific paradigm. Meaning, really, we have to broaden ourselves to welcome everyone, to welcome people, different cultures, you know, different understanding of the world and reality, different experiences, so that we can now face what's ahead of us. And to talk again about this problem that I mentioned, you know, what we do impact the world, impact all of us. And even if it's not today, it will be one day, because there is nothing in a bubble of water that you can do to one end of the bubble that will not affect the entire bubble. So even if it's not you, it will be your children, your grandchildren, and so forth. But nature has a way to always seek homeostasis and to always seek balance. So if we have gone too far out on one way, nature will not correct the course, with us or without us, because we are not primordial to life on this planet. When you see that we shut down everything, life goes on, flowers still bloom, birds are singing, rivers are flowing, and even better, so that before, when we were polluting everything. So, you know, I'm not, you know, promoting that we disappear, but we have to learn to become more integrated in the system, the planet, the system that we are in.
Thank you so much, Diambi. Thank you for bringing this energy and your beautiful words. We know that you live in a life of service to humankind and in many ways. So we're interested to know if you could share with us more about your work with the Elikia Hope Foundation.
Yes. So my passion is really to work on connecting to each other. I love getting to meet people. I love connecting. I love working and realizing how common we are and how beautiful we are also with our differences, and gaining that knowledge and also connecting the energy field, because it's a lot about energy. Today, you have a lot of scientists that are working on the science of consciousness, as they call it. We've been on that field of work since the beginning of time. Our ancestors have always put so much work on consciousness. The understanding of who we are, so that we don't have to supplement ourselves with so much stuff to feel like we are valuable. So this is really one of my main pursuit, is to really bring people together and reignite that Ubuntu principle that lies in each other, in every single one of us. But I do also work on projects of development in the DRC, and I have a foundation that I created 1 year ago. It's called the Elikia Hope Foundation, and it's with this foundation that I work with orphanages in the DRC, you know, helping to take children off the street, you know, homeless children off the street. I have projects to develop, you know, to bring clean water in villages, in different villages. Also, proximity health clinic, proximity, very close, like ambulatory care and urgent care closer to the villages, because where I come from, there is no roads. So when you need to go to a hospital or clinic, you have to walk for miles and miles and miles and before you get help. So I'm looking to see in what way we can bring mobile clinics, small mobile clinic, and have organized, you know, visits in different villages and so forth. And also work with the local medicine men and women who have extreme understanding about how nature have a solution for all the problems that we have. because we are made of nature, and nature has given provision for every single problem we have in our body, in our system. She can help. But we don't always regard that as something important, but it's extremely important to know that nature has given provision for everything to us. So working with the local medicine people, and also I want to do vocational training centers. I have a very good friend of mine, Sam Status, who has a great projects to do, Theometric Institute. So those are like classes that we'll be giving, small training programs to help people get, develop skills so they can right away create their own business, can create their own favor artisanal work in local communities. I have also a fashion line, Queen Diambi Collection fashion line, which is only to promote work for women who are seamstress. Every clothes I wear, as you can see, is made in the Congo by my seamstresses and my designers. So to showcase that Congo has so much to offer the world, and we have so many things that are alternative, but could become mainstream because we live a certain way that could really bring a lot of joy and happiness and health to the world. And I want to be able to identify these elements all over the world and bring them so we can start having choices, because a lot of the things that we do, I'm not judging, because we just feel like we have no choice, so we do what we think is right and what we have in front of us. So these are some of the initiatives that I'm working on, and of course working on many different projects as well, where I really take a role of an ambassador, where I go to people and I explain to them what is it that we are doing in the Congo, and in what way they can get involved, and in what way they can participate to the effort of, doing some projects to help the local communities. But my big thing is to always ask the local community first, what is it that they need? What is it that they think it's necessary? Not to come with our, almighty, superiority of the Western world and say, oh, we feel like you need this and this and that, and you are so underdeveloped, we're gonna develop you. And no, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It didn't work for you. It's not going to work for everybody else. So we now have to be, so I encourage everyone to be a little more humble and to start looking at the flip side of the so-called development, and really also explain that to people who are with the so-called underdeveloped people. Because see, there's been an agenda, there's been a propaganda that went on for centuries to make these people believe that they were lower, they were lesser, and they were not good enough because they were not like the model, the colonial model. But now that brain, that has gotten into the people. So now they want to have the countries looking like New York City. They want to have their village completely transformed and look like, a city like Berlin or something. But is it wise? Is it smart? Maybe, but is it wise? So we have to now make correction in the way we presented our own cultures, Western cultures. And if I say our, because I also claim to be from the same culture, because my mother is Belgian. I was raised in Congo DRC in the city. So I'm a city person. I didn't grow up in rural area. I studied in New York. I traveled the world. So I take ownership of that too. It's not because I'm wearing a traditional crown that I'm all from there. So, but I can see that we sometimes come with a very arrogant attitude, thinking, oh, we're gonna come and fix you and we're gonna do this to you. And no, we have to stop that. We have to, take a seat back and humble ourselves and go to those communities and ask them, what can they teach us first? And when you do that, sometimes you realize that I would not want to change anything here for the world. When I go back to my villages in the territory of Dimbelenge, it's just like I've just walked into heaven. It's just like I've walked into the Garden of Eden. Nature is abundant. People are calm and poised and cheerful and smiling, and yes, they may not have all the fancy clothes, they don't have all the super tech gadgets, they live in houses that are made out of clay or dirt, and roof made out of natural material. But in a human sense, they have a wealth that I have seen nowhere else. Not in one big conference hall with those very super brainiac people and high-tech geeks and all that stuff. There is something that is so thick about the abundance of life that they emulate and that comes out that I have not seen anywhere. And I had to ask myself, if I had to describe it, if I had to say one thing about that kind of particular attitude, how would I qualify it to be? I say they mastered the art of living. Yes.
Yeah, every time that we are connected with our native people, I remember how connected we are to nature. And that's the wisdom of how to live in harmony. And that's why also, this is why we do the work that we do, because we are in this process of remembering and we want to help our fellow humans to remember together. Wow, you do so much, Queen Diambi. And I praise you for your life and your service and everything that you do, and just your way of being with such an open heart, and just your mission in life to really be that bridge keeper between all the different worlds and within this one world. So, wow. Wanted to begin to conclude and wanting to also see how we can summarize, because there are so many valuable messages and teachings that you just shared with us, and I'm sure all of the people who have tuned in and who will tune in will be amazed with how they're going to be integrating all this wisdom that you shared, all this insight. First things first, how this is a question that I'm attempting to formulate. With everything that you've just said, is there one teaching or one message that you would like to share with the world, with humanity, that you would love to be able to extend to our fellow humans?
Yes. I think the beginning of the conversation is basically about Ubuntu. And my message really is about cultivate that sense that you are not a person, but you are a people. So as I stand in front of you, I am not a person, you know, I'm a people. So wherever I stand, I want to be that people. I want to make sure that I don't get the illusion of separation, that I judge, I'm slow to judge and very quick to forgive, so that we can, you know, emulate and we can continue to bring our consciousness back to the center of what life really means for us on this planet. Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants to have a life that is, you know, prosperous. Everyone, yes, but what does that really mean? We have to reevaluate, you know, our systems and our core beliefs, and we have to be willing to look at the other side, and we have to be willing to connect with all of the other people out there who are willing to show up, who are willing to contribute to this, and especially our youth. I'm really I'm so hopeful, because I know the young people on this planet have a different sense of connection. And I'm really looking for them as the next generation to stand up and say, we want to live another way. I will not be content living on a glass house with all my billions when I know that somewhere a part of me is dying of thirst, because I am a people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Queen Diambi. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
My prayer is that your message is heard and received by many. And for all those who are tuning in right now, we will share Queen Diambi's foundations so that you can also be involved in all the amazing work that she dedicates herself to. And yes, this is our second episode. Thank you, Queen Diambi. Thank you to all who have tuned in. Such a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Yes.
No. See you next week, family.